and welcome to another Healthy Heart session we can. Thank you all for joining us today from wherever you're joining from. For those of you that are on here on Zoom, those joining from LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, thank you so much for joining today's session. Right, I hope we all had a good day. So, our diet is key. I think at this point, if you're consistent in joining our Tuesday sessions, or even if you've joined one or two, by now you know that we're always saying how our diet is key in prevention and management of various chronic diseases. So in today's session, we have Dr. Keiron, who is going to enlighten us more on the role that our diet plays in some of these conditions. And the conditions we'll be looking at today is the kidney disease, hypertension, and diabetes. So he's going to be talking about the triple threat. Now, as the session goes on, please do not forget to unmute your mic to ask your questions, or you can pop your questions into the chat box. For those who are on other social media platforms, you can always send your questions through, and Dr. Keiron will be able to answer them. Thank you so much. So over to you, Dr. Keiron. Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. So yeah, good evening, everyone. As you said, I'm going to cover today the triple threat. I'm going to look at the dietary factors that impact these three comorbidities. So on Saturday, Prof. EB gave a talk about kidney disease and hypertension and why people of African descent are at higher risk due to genetic factors. So today I'll just go over how these three diseases are interlinked, how they increase the risk of each other, and also I'll cover some of the dietary factors that increase the risk as well. So in addition to genetics, there are also dietary factors that's specific to Black people. So I think this is the empowering part because this is what we can actually control in terms of our diets as opposed to our genetics. All right, so let me first, I'm going to switch off my vid to save some bandwidth. And then I'll share my screen.
Okay, yeah, we can see your screen.
Awesome. All right, so first I want to start off by sharing a few research facts about the link between diet and kidney disease. So there's a particular diet, it's called the DASH diet. I'm going to go into it and explain what it is and what it means. It's originally developed for hypertension, but there have been studies that show in one particular study actually, over 1,600 adults, those who followed the DASH style diet had a 59% lower risk of chronic kidney disease over 6 years. And then in that same study, showed that sticking to the DASH style diet can actually reduce the risk of developing chronic kidney disease by up to 41% compared to those that didn't stick to it. And then also, this DASH diet has been shown to lower blood pressure, which is a major risk factor for kidney disease. And how it does that, it focuses on high intakes of potassium, magnesium, and fiber. And then the last fact I want to share, this is related to a bit of controversy between the role of potassium itself. So the relationship between potassium intake and chronic kidney disease progression, cardiovascular health, and overall mortality remains complex and somewhat controversial. So I'll talk a bit about that as well. All right, so let's dive into it. So in Prof. Ibi's talk on Saturday, he went into a lot of detail about the link between hypertension and kidney disease, a lot of technical detail. But I'm just going to give a brief overview just to introduce the, the topic. So when it comes to diabetes and hypertension, it's actually diabetes that comes first because it's diabetes that increases the risk of hypertension. So in a diabetic patient, the way their body handles salt is a lot less efficient compared to someone who doesn't have the disease. So normally kidneys would actually help remove excess sodium, but in people with diabetes, this process is actually disrupted. So when you have too much salt that stays in the body, it can actually increase your blood pressure. So there's a system in the body called the renin-angiotensin or aldosterone system. This is essentially a system that actually helps to regulate blood pressure as well as fluid balance. And in people with diabetes, this system doesn't really work as it should. So that in itself leads to high blood pressure. So a combination of these factors, the poor sodium handling, as well as changes in this system, this RAS system, is what makes people with diabetes a lot more prone to developing hypertension. Right, so now throwing kidney health into the mix, that person that is both diabetic and has hypertension, they will now have a significantly higher chance of developing chronic kidney disease, or CKD. That risk is actually more higher than having either of these conditions alone. So diabetes is actually the leading cause of what they call end-stage renal disease, which is essentially just a way of saying you have severe kidney failure. Your the person would, at this stage of the disease, the person would actually require dialysis or kidney transplant. So hypertension actually worsens kidney disease, speeds up the progression. So these two factors here, the EGFR as well as the ACR, this is what doctors use to monitor um, kidney health in general. So EGFR, it stands for estimated glomerular filtration rate. And this just shows how well your kidneys are filtering waste. So if you have a lower EGFR, it just means that your kidneys are not working well. And then if you have a high ACR, this also means that your kidneys are not functioning well. ACR, this stands for albumin creatine ratio. So this just measures how much protein is actually leaking into the urine. So you have high levels of protein in your urine, that's a sign of kidney damage. So people with low EGFR, high ACR, they are at higher risk of developing kidney failure. And it becomes even worse if the person has both diabetes and hypertension, although it can occur in the absence of both of these diseases, but it actually worsens the risk when these two diseases are present.
Okay. Dr. Keiron, I've got a question. So
Yeah.
I know you've explained that it can occur without diabetes and hypertension being present. But in the presence of diabetes and hypertension, or in the presence of, let's say, only hypertension, how exactly does it make the kidney damage worse? What actually happens? Hello.
Yeah, yeah, sorry. I'm here.
Okay.
So the the actual cause, it's not like the mechanism behind it is not fully like understood,
Hmm.
but it's just based on observational data in terms of it has been seen that the link between diabetes and hypertension is the link between diabetes and hypertension is clear, as well as
Yeah.
the link between hypertension and kidney health. So both of them together, it's likely related to the elevated um, inflammation that takes place as well, which can cause damage to the kidneys.
Okay.
So that is a possible mechanism. But as of now, it's not like 100% confirmed as to what are these specific causes. But I think it's has something to do with inflammation because inflammation from a range of different um, sources can cause significant damage and scarring to the kidneys.
Ah,
So
right. Okay.
particularly, it's likely to be related to that.
To that. Okay. Okay, then no problem. Thank you.
Right. So people have who suffer from the comorbidities. So if you have both diabetes and high blood pressure, it's usually recommended that you try to keep your blood pressure lower than 130/80. All right, so this is important because when you control your blood pressure, it actually helps to protect your kidneys from further damage. And it reduces, well, we know high blood pressure is a major risk factor for heart problems, heart disease. So it actually reduces the strain on the heart as well. But usually when you get to this stage, in terms of having both conditions, it's a lot harder to actually lower your blood pressure using just one medication. So this is usually how people end up with being on multiple treatments, taking like a combination of drugs to reach their target blood pressure. And this in itself comes with its own complications and side effects.
Okay.
Right. So now that I've gone through a bit of the technical combinations and links, now I want to go and talk a bit about the dietary factors that I mentioned. Right. So take a look at that spread. That is likely someone's dream buffet, but the health risks involved are so significant.
Hmm.
So first on the list, so firstly, as Prof. Evie mentioned, a lot of the vast majority of research done on hypertension has been done on Black Americans in particular, particularly Black Americans from the South, because they've seen that a Southern style diet is one of the leading diets, apart from just a standard American diet, but a Southern style diet in particular is one of the leading dietary risk factors for hypertension. So some of the characteristics of this type of diet, it's actually world famous now. One of them is a high intake of fried foods and processed foods, right? So you have your Southern style fried chicken, for example. I actually remember watching a video of some UK school kids trying Southern style fried chicken for the first time. And yeah, they were blown away by the taste, but consuming that on a regular basis is really problematic. Then you have high excessive salt consumption. So there are a lot of the foods that they cook. Well, I mean, Black people in general tend to have a reputation for consuming a lot of salt. right? So in their cooking, even in the processed foods as well, there's high levels of salt. So high salt intake can actually cause your body to retain water, and that in itself increases blood volume and blood pressure. Then you have your sugary drinks, right? Sugar sweetened drinks. So, there's also a stereotype with Black people and consuming a lot of sugar, right? So in America, you hear all the movie references to sugary drinks like Kool-Aid and how much sugar needs to go in Kool-Aid. So it's like known that there's very high intakes of sugar. So we know all the risks related to sugar as well, right? So from its link to obesity, metabolic syndrome, both of which are risk factors for all three of these diseases, hypertension, diabetes, as well as kidney disease. So next on to mention nutrient deficiencies. So this comes from um, the lower intake of fruits and vegetables. So in this type of diet, fruits and vegetables are not very prevalent. And there's even studies to show that African Americans consume less fruits and veg compared to their white counterparts, right? So this will inevitably result in a lower intake of your essential nutrients, like your potassium, your magnesium, calcium, all of which are important for regulating blood pressure levels. So also the cultural significance of food, I think there's a very important factor as well. I think, Sylvia, as a dietitian, you may come across this idea of it being a lot more difficult to stop consuming certain foods because of its cultural significance, even if it's known to be unhealthy or cause a risk of a particular disease or something. Even if it's highly recommended that the person cut that food out, it might be even more difficult due to this, link to a particular culture. So I don't know if you ever saw the movie Soul Food or the series Soul Food. It's like back in the day, might be before your time, but yeah, it was about this Black family in the US, and they used to meet every Sunday, and the big mama would cook this big spread of food. And in the film itself, she actually got sick from some illness. I'm not sure what it was. It could have well been one of these diseases that we're talking about today. And she passed away. And the next Sunday, the family just carried on and they cooked the exact same spread that they eat every Sunday. And there was like no consideration. Well, okay, maybe we should cut some of these foods out. Maybe it had something to do with, Big Mama's illness. So it's just that thing that, no, there's not much thought that
Much
goes into
thought, yeah,
that.
that goes into that. Yeah, I feel like with the US, I feel like it's like that because I don't know, they talk about it every time. There's awareness because I don't know if it's just us that see the awareness because we're nutritionists or dietitians, but they give the awareness every time, but still there are
Mm.
no changes to the food. They do say they have the food laws, the regulations, and things like that, but I don't see the changes. I witnessed it recently and I did struggle a lot to have to have their meals. I did really struggle. There's sugar in everything. There's
Mm.
if they're not using sugar, they're using sweeteners that they're not supposed to use. For example, the UK has banned the use of the corn syrup sweetener, but the US still uses,
High
knowing fully
fructose
well that
corn syrup,
that's yeah,
yes.
knowing fully well that that's really deadly. They still use the corn syrup sweetener. They tell you there's no sugar, but it's got a high amount of corn syrup sweetener in it. So things like that. I'm not sure. I don't live there, but I'm not sure what the issue exactly is, why they can't make those adjustments or those changes the way the UK has made those changes. It's really terrible. It's really terrible because with the
Uh-huh.
picture you've got by
These-
the side, that's the typical that there's no fruits, there's no vegetables, there's absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I mean, there's conspiracies behind why the US food system in particular is so bad that, and they've been importing this American style diet in different parts of the world. But
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what it is. What could it possibly be in terms of trying to get people sick, so they can be reliant on pharmaceutical drugs or
Mhm.
just, because I mean, it's a strain on the healthcare system as
Yeah,
well. So many of these diseases could be avoided
yeah,
if,
yeah.
there were better dietary measures in
In
place at
place,
the
yes.
national level, so.
Yeah, that's true. That's it. Mhm.
Right. So the last point here with regards to diet, which I think is also quite important, is the historical context of some of the foods that we consume. So particularly in not just America, but just Black people in the West as well, there's that legacy of slavery, which has actually shaped our food choices. So we actually reached a point where what was once food that was once consumed for survival has now become staples. So the foods that we once had that which we ate because we had no other choice. They're now, actually like prime national dishes. I mean, if you look at Jamaica, for example, even Trinidad as well, ackee and saltfish, we have bacon, saltfish, and salted fish is actually, linked to there's actually a cancer link. Salted fish is actually on the WHO list. I think it's can't remember the classification now. If it's not in the same classification as processed meats, but I think it's the one just below it. So that is also
Oh, wow. Mm.
problematic and we consume it on a regular basis.
On a regular basis, yeah, it's sort of now like just like you said, like a staple food now. Yeah,
Okay, yeah. So something like mackerel would be a healthier option,
option, yeah.
but yeah, so it's difficult to make these dietary changes without having an understanding of some of these historical and cultural factors that play a role in the foods that we choose to eat. Right. So these are some of the dietary factors. So from a dietary perspective, this can actually be another reason why Black people, people of African descent, would be at an increased risk of hypertension, which then also increases the risk of kidney disease.
Yeah. Well, aside from the, so sorry, with the historical context, aside from the Akin saltfish, what other food, what other examples can we say?
What just off the top of my head, I could think of something like like pigtail, salted pigtails. I remember eating all of that as a child. That also has some bit of slavery connotations or can be put within the context of slavery in terms of Black people getting the remainders of the pig. So like the pig snout and the pig feet and all
Okay.
that, those have
Yeah.
been made into delicacies. We have sauce that's consumed a lot in Trinidad as well, made from different parts of the pig.
Okay. I see. Right. Okay. Okay then. No worries. Thank you.
Yeah. Right. So now I just want to mention obesity and the role obesity plays in development of chronic kidney disease. So obesity just on its own, in the absence of any other condition, is a risk factor. So independently of diabetes and hypertension, it can actually increase the risk of kidney disease. So you find when somebody's obese, the extra weight that they're carrying, it actually puts strain on the kidneys. So it can actually cause the kidney to change how it functions, and then that slowly damages it over time. All right. And then, of course, obesity is also a risk factor for hypertension and diabetes as well. So the thing is about fat tissue in general, and not just fat tissue, but particularly abdominal fat tissue. So that's fat that you find in your stomach area. So it doesn't just sit there in storage compared to the fat that's like in your thighs. When it's in that stomach area, it actually produces chemicals, right? And these chemicals can actually cause inflammation. So this inflammation was then can go on to damage your kidneys and even other organs as well. So that is where the risk comes from. So the combination of obesity increases the risk of chronic disease. So as I mentioned, obesity alone can cause this, but it's usually likely to occur with the addition of diabetes and hypertension as well. So when it comes to these chronic conditions, weight loss will always be a recommendation,
Yeah.
right? When it comes to reducing the risk of some of these conditions, in particular kidney disease and the complications that come with it as well.
Right. I can really see I can see the link between the three now, like the really triple threats, everything just having one connection or another. So with this fat tissues that are basically in like our lower abdomen, and you say they produce harmful substances, can you
Mhm.
share like what's the name of these substances? Like,
So it produces a chemical called adipokines,
okay.
which is a highly inflammatory chemical,
Mm,
and it can cause damage to protein structures, causing them to malfunction, changes their shape, changes their functionalities. So that is typically what inflammation does in any part of the body. So the kidney is the kidney doesn't escape
no
the
different modes.
effects of
Okay.
inflammation. Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. Okay, just before we move in, has anybody got any questions, anything they'd like to clarify? Any questions at all? Or anything you'd like Dr. Keiron to explain a bit more? Okay, yeah, we can carry on.
All right. So just a few dietary recommendations. So more good news for vegans. Plant-based diets are typically recommended when dealing with kidney health in particular. And that's because when you increase the intake of plant-based foods, you actually reduce the strain on your kidneys as well, in particular plant protein. So plant protein sources can actually lower the workload on the kidneys compared to animal protein, right? So you find that high animal protein diets can actually exacerbate kidney damage. And that's because of the increased acid production as well, and the metabolic stress, just the stress in itself that breaking down some of the products within just animal tissue in general. So, and then on top of that, the plant-based diets provide a variety of antioxidants, right? Micronutrients, anti-inflammatory compounds from all the phytonutrients, right? So that can help to fight off the oxidative stress to help reduce the inflammation as well, which is some of the key factors involved in the progression of kidney disease. And then managing your sodium and potassium intake, right? So usually a kidney diet or renal diet it usually recommends limiting sodium, potassium, and phosphorus. Those are some of the larger um, minerals. And that's because when the kidney is not functioning well, it's difficult to excrete some of these minerals. So the balance, it tends to build up. So the controversy that I mentioned in the beginning is due to the presence of potassium. So potassium is good for lowering blood pressure, but there's a common condition in kidney patients, chronic kidney disease patients, called hyperkalemia. So this is when you have abnormally high levels of potassium in the blood. Like as I mentioned, kidneys are not functioning properly, so it's less able to excrete all this excess potassium and it tends to build up. So if you have this condition, it's usually recommended that you consume a low potassium diet. But that's why it's important to check. So if you do have the comorbidity, if you do have both hypertension and kidney disease, it's important to check with your doctor to see if you have this the complication, if you have hyperkalemia. If you don't, then it's recommended that you include potassium in your diet to help to reduce, to help to lower the blood pressure. Right? But only if you don't have it, if it's not an issue.
Right. So you can include potassium in your diet only if you're not prone to hyperkalemia. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly. So I think it's very important to, to check and to test to see whether there's excess potassium buildup. Some researchers are saying that it's not that much of a risk in terms of and it's not like worth the cost to risk, the benefit to risk ratio is more leaning towards consuming potassium because of its benefits against high blood pressure, because its ability to lower blood pressure. It's
Mm,
actually more beneficial to consume it rather than to avoid it.
okay.
But I think it's still important to get that medical sign off first before you consume it, especially if you have like severe kidney disease and you have other complications as well.
Right. Okay. What about things like kidney stones? Do you think you'll be fine with having it?
So kidney stones, I think that has more to do with the protein and the protein buildup.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's particularly related to potassium
So,
levels.
okay. Okay then.
But
Okay. I think I've also got something about the protein intake. So you did mention the animal protein and plant protein too. With the plant protein, what are some, can you give us some like sources, or are you going to speak about that in the future?
yeah, I've got I'm gonna talk a bit about the DASH diet, but some plant protein sources, well, the key ones would be your legumes.
All right.
Yeah, so all your different types of beans and peas. Those are some key plant proteins. Unfortunately, with plant proteins, there's no complete protein, plant protein, in terms of containing all the essential amino acids, apart from um, soy, of course.
Yeah, soybeans.
Soy is the
Yeah.
one complete plant protein. But once you combine your different foods, then you should be able to supplement for that as well. But it doesn't mean that you totally eliminate all meat from your diet.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of reducing and consuming it
Proportions got through, basically.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Right. Okay. So Marta has asked the question. She says, what food would you eat to give you potassium?
Um, Sources of
Yeah,
potassium
sources
for
of
me,
potassium.
bananas are a good source of potassium.
Mm,
Yeah, if you live in a country where you can get fresh coconut water, it's also another good source of potassium.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. With the coconut water, because I think obviously we can't get fresh coconut water here in the UK, but we get a
Yeah.
lot of the store-bought. Do you think the store-bought coconut water will still give you that? Do you think we can still have that?
Mm,
Because
it's it's a
I see a
tough
lot of people
one.
taking it. I'm not sure why they're taking it, whether it's for electrolytes or for the potassium, but I see a lot of people have coconut water. So
I mean, it's a tough one. If it's the pure coconut water and you can like actually confirm that there's no sugar added to it, because a lot of them they add like sugars and
yeah,
sweeteners and other preservatives. But if you can find like just a 100% coconut water, then yeah, it
all right.
should have some potassium. Hopefully, it could be even labeled with nutritional information. You could check the potassium levels.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
Vita Coco is a good brand as well. I think they do 100% coconut water.
Okay. That's all right.
Even though it
I hope
never
that
really tastes the
answers.
same.
Yeah, I hope that answers your question, Mata.
Yeah, it did. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. No problem. Okay.
Right, so I'm gonna cover a bit on the DASH diet. So DASH stands for dietary approaches to stop hypertension. So there's a lot of research that has gone into this diet in particular. Presents like a full eating plan, and it's recommended that you consume a lot of plant-based foods. So you get your plant-based proteins from your legumes and your nuts and fruits, vegetables, low-fat dairy. Limit your amount of red meat as well as processed meats, sugary drinks, and especially sodium. All right, so there's a lot of research that shows that this, in addition to hypertension, it also plays a role in reducing the risk of chronic kidney disease as well. So it helps lower your blood pressure, which then directly protects the kidney from damage. Right. So on top of that, the focus on the plant-based foods, plant-based proteins, fiber-rich foods that also helps to reduce the strain on the kidney as well. So it does that by promoting like better filtration as well. So it will actually improve the kidney functions in particular. Right. So that's your DASH diet. So now I'm gonna show you
Hmm.
three kidney-friendly foods in particular. So cauliflower is here in particular because it's low in potassium, but high in many other vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients. So in particular, if potassium is a concern, then cauliflower is usually a recommended food.
Good.
So it actually as I said, it's high in fiber. It's rich in a multitude of micronutrients, anti-inflammatory micronutrients, antioxidants like your vitamin C, vitamin K, B6, folate, and then it has a range of phytonutrients as well that all have anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. Same with blueberries as well. So blueberries also very rich in antioxidants. So this would be essentially your anti-inflammatory foods that you want to consume. So these diets kind of interlink in terms of the anti-inflammatory diet because it's all essentially plant-based foods. So plant-based foods have high anti-inflammatory potential. And then garlic. So garlic is good as a substitute for salt in cooking in particular, because it adds flavor to the food. So without having the need to add salt, because I mean, most people use salt to kind of enhance the flavor. So garlic can, add that type of flavor to a food. And on top of that, it also has its own anti-inflammatory properties as well, right? Due to some of the phytonutrients that are there found in garlic.
Okay, what about is there another type of I would say aromatics in the same category with garlic that we can substitute? Because I know there are a lot of people who don't like or enjoy garlic. So is there another aromatics that have similar properties with garlic that we can say you can use?
Onions are good as well. Onions also have similar anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties in there.
Okay.
Um, Turmeric to an extent as well, even though there's less research done in turmeric.
Okay.
But yeah, it also can fall in that anti-inflammatory camp as well. But you know that the turmeric taste can actually, depending on what you're cooking, it can significantly change the taste if you use too much of it. Usually good for curries, but outside of that, maybe stews as well. But yeah, it all depends on what you're actually preparing.
Oh, okay. Okay, then no problem. Thank you.
No worries. So my last slide, I just want to look at. So there was a question someone asked Prof. EB with regards to any herbal supplements that are good for kidney disease. So I just did some research and found these two herbs. First one is Dong Quai, and then the next one is astragalus. So both of them, I remember seeing them as herbal supplements back when I used to work in this supplement store. So they're both like widely available. If you go to any supplement store, you should find them in capsule or tablet form. So Dong Quai, there's research to show that this can actually treat anemia that is associated with chronic kidney disease. So it actually stimulates a hormone that is produced by the kidney that actually stimulates the production of red blood cells, right? So they give this hormone as a treatment for anemia in people with chronic kidney disease. So this herb in particular can help to stimulate the production of this hormone. It's called erythropoietin. Erythropoietin. And then astragalus, there's also research to show that this has anti-inflammatory potential, so similar to your plant-based foods. It's rich in a lot of anti-inflammatory um, compounds, and that in itself would be beneficial for managing kidney health. All right, so I will end with that one today.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr.
As
Keiron.
always, thanks for listening.
Has anybody got any questions or anything they would like to clarify? All right, while we're waiting for people to ask questions, I think I've I think I've got one. So I was going to ask, because I know we sort of focus more on like the dietary intake. Are there any other maybe like lifestyle habits that can affect the kidney disease or yeah, anything like that or hypertension?
So, I mean, exercise goes hand in hand in terms of its anti-inflammatory potential. So, if you're trying to reduce the level of inflammation in your body, I mean, there's no better practice apart from changing the diet and exercise. So,
Size.
regular exercise as well. And
Okay.
then also, like, if you're involved in, like, if you're a gym person, you may want to try to lay off some of these whey protein supplements. Some people kind of overdo those supplementations, trying to bulk up. That could actually put a lot of strain on your kidneys as well.
Really? Okay. I think I'm quite interested in that one. So why is that actually? Because why exactly? Because I know for the fact I would generally just tell people it's best to get your protein from your food as a gym person. So what exactly does the whey protein, what effects does it have on the kidneys?
So similar to excessive animal protein,
Hmm.
right? So it just actually puts a strain in terms of breaking down the the protein compounds in itself, the amino acids. So they tend to build up, and then that's how you end up with the what's the word? When it starts leaking over into your urine.
The
So
ACR.
yeah, exactly
Okay,
that
the high
one.
levels of ACR. Okay, I see. Right, okay. That does make sense. So how about alcohol? You know how people, in fact, it's very common. We use that a lot to joke around and tease people. And then when someone's taking alcohol, the first thing that comes to your mind is, oh, your kidneys, alcohol and your kidneys and things like that. And then there's this myth that people believe that if you don't drink alcohol, you're never going to have kidney problems. So what about alcohol actually?
So when I think of alcohol, I think of inflammation and what it does to the body. So as I say, anything that can cause inflammation in your body will have an impact on your organs. So not just your kidneys, but your brain, your heart, your stomach, so high levels of alcohol intake on a regular basis, that causes a lot of inflammation in the body. So that in itself can start damaging your kidneys in particular. I mean, your liver is at risk in terms of, alcohol goes, that's where it's actually, broken down, and a lot of the toxic
Hmm.
chemicals. Because thing is, it's not even just the alcohol itself, it's all the contaminants that are in the alcohol during the process of preparing it that can also cause a lot of damage. So that in itself is what increases these inflammatory risks.
Okay, okay. Okay, right. So that's basically just coming from the side of inflammation. But I think
Mhm.
from everything you've said now, it's clear that it's alcohol is not just the sole determinant for like a kidney disease. There are other factors that do play a role in it. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Has
I
anybody
think
got any?
inflammation is the main culprit in a lot of things that we suffer from.
What is the main culprit? Diet, right?
Inflammation, yeah.
Oh, inflammation. Yes, yes. And it feels like a lot of the inflammation comes from like our diet, also diet, lifestyle habits and things like that. Hmm.
Mm,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Keiron. Has anybody got any questions? Anything they'd like to clarify? Any questions or any concerns? Anything at all? Right. So I was also going to ask, aside from, because you sort of mentioned with the I think with the sort of nutrients or areas that we need to focus on. So we spoke about protein intake, we spoke about the sodium and potassium, controlling that. We also did talk about the yeah, protein, sodium and potassium. Is there any other mineral or nutrient that is key that we need to also consider? Or are those the only ones that we need to sort of focus on?
In terms of avoiding or in terms of
Yeah,
having,
I think basically in terms of avoiding and in terms of managing, because what we're talking about here is both prevention and managing basically. So I think in terms of both, is there any other nutrient that we need to sort of restrict or manage also?
I think in terms of well, the larger minerals like your sodium,
Mm,
phosphorus as well,
mm,
and yeah, and your animal protein. So high excess amino acids. Those are
mm.
some of the key culprits when it comes to
When it
not
comes to
just
managing, yes.
hypertension, but yeah, also kidney disease as well.
Okay, okay. So that's brilliant. So now that you've mentioned phosphorus, what are the foods that we should like when you say phosphorus? And because now we're not seeing the nutrients in its raw form, we're seeing it in the foods and things on fruits and vegetables and things around us. So how do we know what are the sources of phosphorus basically? What food are we talking about here? What are the foods that are high in phosphorus?
Foods are high in phosphorus. Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything. Um, what are some phosphorus-rich foods? Phosphorus is a sort of a neglected element. I don't really pay much attention to phosphorus.
Exactly. And I think even on this our session, we really sort of talk about phosphorus. It's one nutrient that is really neglected. So I think that's why I was just curious to know, okay, when we say phosphorus, what are the sources? What should we be talking about?
I mean, I'm thinking of plant-based sources. I know it's prevalent in animal fat, animal like tissue. That we have phosphorus in our tissue as animals, but in
Hmm,
terms of plant-based sources, I can't think of anything. I know we do find it in animal foods.
okay. So basically in animal foods, we're talking of things like chicken, turkey,
Like
pork,
your meats, your eggs, dairy.
dairy products.
Yeah, dairy products too also have phosphorus.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. What about your organ meats, like things like your liver and
Oh,
heart?
well, yeah, definitely in terms of organ meats because they nutrients tend to concentrate in organ
They're more
meats.
concentrated there.
Yeah. So I
Right.
mean they're nutrient rich, but they may also contain those high levels of phosphorus as well.
Hmm. Now, this is a very keen one because with people who tend to have kidney disease, another meat actually, people who tend they'll probably say to eat more of those organ foods, eat more of the organ meat because the compo now we're saying now that it's got phosphorus in it, and you've also mentioned that phosphorus is something we should limit and restrict. So I think that's something we need to note down.
So it's not as straightforward as saying it should be restricted, right? So it all depends on the stage of a kidney disease and how well it's filtering, and if there's already an excess buildup of
Mhm.
phosphorus, because it may be a case where you don't need to, restrict it. Same with potassium as well.
Okay.
The only one I can actually say that should be restricted would be sodium.
So
It would be sodium because of its link to um, hypertension.
okay. Okay, brilliant. Yes, I can see Dr. Hiba has given us some examples of phosphorus.
Yeah,
Yeah. So legumes, seed and nuts. I assume those seeds and nuts are things like maybe like sunflower seeds or pumpkin seeds, fish and seafood. Yes, I'm very much aware of the fish and seafood. Okay. Right. Okay. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Karen. Any other questions? Has anybody got any questions they would like to ask? Anything they'd like to clarify before we hand over to Orlando? We've got about 4 minutes left.
So hi Sylvia, quick comment.
Yes.
No, just with regards to the foods that contain phosphorus. Next week we'll be looking at part 2 of the cultural foods we did the other time.
Yes.
So yeah, we can look for some more examples of those nutrients that Keiron mentioned.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay. And
people should just watch out for next week's session.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, thank you very much for that, Dr. Hiba. Yes. So I think that's to say that everybody needs to try and join our session next week, Tuesday. If you're on this session, ensure you join the session next week, Tuesday, so we can give some more examples into the nutrients that we've discussed today and give some more sources so you know what you're restricting, what you're limiting, and what you need to focus on more, what foods you need to focus on more. Okay. Has anybody got any other comment or question before we hand over to Orlando? Any comments? Okay, right. Any last words for us, Dr. Keiron?
Well, I know it's a case where it seems like the burden of disease is very high in terms of the risk and the prevalence of some of these diseases is very high within our communities.
Yeah.
But like I said in the beginning, diet is the one thing that we actually have control over, even though
Yeah.
it's not as easy. But it is in our hands in terms of what we eat.
Mm.
So I think we can definitely try to put a lot of attention and a lot of thought into our diets, knowing what we know now, and make those changes.
And make
And I
those
think,
changes. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I think just
absolutely.
yeah, thank you so much for that, Dr. Keiron. Thank you. I think just to add to that, I will say that generally we can see that a well-balanced diet definitely has an influence on the prevention, management, and management of like kidney disease, hypertension, and diabetes. So the summary of what we've had today is that for kidney disease, you need to ensure that you're restricting your sodium intake, reducing phosphorus intake, and potassium is also key. For hypertension, it's a low sodium, have a low sodium, very nutrient rich diet. And an example of that is the DASH diet, which we went into extensively. For diabetes, I think this one, everybody should be aware of this because we talk about this more often, is having to manage your carbs, your carbohydrate intake, and focus more on low glycemic foods that help to support your sugar levels, control or support and control your sugar levels. And then also do not forget that your diet needs to be tailored to a specific health condition. You can't just have the same thing. You can't just assume that because this worked for this person, it will also work for you. Whatever you're going through, always ensure that you speak to your health professional about it. So thank you very much for joining today's session. And please let's endeavor to join the session next week. We'll be having the part 2 of our ethnic foods. So it was nice having you today, Dr. Keiron. I'm going to be handing over to Orlando. Please let's stay back for a bit of physical activity with Orlando. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we ready to go? Can you please spotlight me when you're ready? Okay, thank you. Hey, people over Zoom, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, however you tune into us every week. Welcome to tonight's fitness session. All right, so tonight we have a lower body circuit plan. Okay, so we're going to go through 2 rounds, and each round will contain 4 different exercises, as I said, targeting the lower body. For tonight's session, all you'll need is your water and plenty of space. Everything we're going to do today is standing up, so you won't need a mat or anything like that, okay? So, it's just gone past now. Let me turn my tunes up, and let's get straight into our warm-up. So for our warm-up, people, to start off with, we're going to jog on the spot, nice and light. Get ready, 3, 2, one. Let's get started now, people. Jog on the spot, nice and light. 3, 2, 1. Now let's go half star jump. So we're gonna go here and here. Let's go. Three, 2, 1. Let's go half squat and reach. Three, 2, 1. Okay, give yourself 15 seconds. Shake that off. Quick sip of water if you need it. Okay, get yourself ready. We're going straight back into the warm-up. Same moves, but in reverse order. Get ready. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Squat reach. Let's go, people. Should be feeling nice and warm now. Let's really get into it now. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. I'll start jumps. Ten seconds. 2, 1. Jogging on the spot. Last 30 seconds now. Come on, people. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, people. Take on some water, rest for 30 seconds, and then we're going to circuit number 1. Well done, my people. Okay, people, back to your spaces now. Let's get straight into it. Okay, so as explained today, we're focusing on the lower body, okay? So quads, calves, glutes, bit of erector spinae, okay? So first circuit, we've got 4 exercises. And each exercise we're going to run for 1 minute, okay? Effort levels out from 0 to 10, with 10 being the hardest you ever worked. We want to be at around a 5 or a 6 today, okay? That's a bit too much. Take it down to a 3 or 4. Or if you feel like you can push yourself a little further, a little harder, then take it up to a 6, 7, 8. All right, but if not, Stay right in the middle, 5 or 6. All right, so first 2 moves coming your way, my people. First, we have the low step. All right, so I'm going to drop into a half squat here. I'm going to stay in this position throughout the round. Okay, through here, we're going to step both sides. Right, left, right, left, right, left. Okay, we're going to stop. We're going to go there for 60 seconds. If any point your quads start burning, take a quick step up, shake off, and go right back into the move. Okay, from there, we're going to go into a squat with calf extension. So we're going to go here, feet flat, drop into a half squat here. As you come up, drive those heels up. Okay, so pushing through the balls of your feet, pushing through your toes. So here, drop down, boom, explode up. Okay, so first move, we're here, boom, boom. Second move, we're down and up onto our tiptoes. All right, people, let's get ready now. Come on now, game time. First circuit now, first 2 moves, let's go. So we're going to start off with our low step. Get ready in 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, life. Life is the only thing we need. They need me to go, but I don't want to leave. Rest in peace, little kid. Pigeonhole, I'm a night owl. This is different.
Come on, people. Stay nice and low. Feel like burn in the leg.
Just let it know. I would have you courtside, not the middle row. All good love in a minute though. I can't stress about no because I'm a timid soul. Plus I'm cooking up ambition on the kitchen stove.
Keep that going, people.
They good to go. I'm suave.
20 seconds left. Keep going, people.
John Wayne. I bought them yellow stones. Let them wait, hey, baby. The silicone, everybody fake now. You can crack the code, bust down everything.
10 seconds. Keep stepping now. Keep stepping.
Like I'm J. Cole, I can tell her head good before I even know. Don't tell me that you model if you ain't been involved.
Keep going. 3, 2, 1. Rest for 20 seconds, people. Shake those legs off.
Rest in peace, the drama king. We were straight stunned. You don't like the way I talk. Say something.
10 seconds. Get those legs ready now. Next one, squat. It's tiptoe. Let's go. 3, 2, 1. Give me 60 seconds, people.
Got to throw a party for my day ones. They ain't in the studio, but they'll lay some. Rest in peace, the drama king. We were straight stunned. If I let my 21 to you.
Keep going, people. 20 seconds done. Halfway now, people.
With my gun, I was able to win them trouble. She wanted to hear some Afro get shoot by the Tesla.
Let's go, people. 20 seconds left. Come on.
But you say UFC, the chopper with a compressor. The chopper chain with a compressor.
10 seconds.
If I was with, if I would have something.
3, 2, 1. Okay, rest for 20 seconds. Listen in while you're resting, people, for move number 3 and 4. Okay, so move number 3, we've got diagonal knees. Okay, so we're here, legs slightly apart. We've got knees to the side there. Boom, really feel that stretch. Diagonal right there. From there, we have calf raises. So again, we're just driving our feet, balls of our feet, our toes into the ground, raising those heels up. Okay, so side knees here to calf raises. Get ready. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Start with the side knee. Let's go.
Just want to see if we're going live, going live. I was getting driveway before I got the money. Okay, since I've been a star, they don't know me. Still ain't got time when a star, they don't still it.
Keep going, people.
I'll stick it down. Okay.
Halfway now.
Got low by so big back, she's showing us.
20 seconds to go.
Trying too hard. It's I ain't let the city once travel abroad. I got no bar. Sticking on the
10 seconds.
I really just my minutes and pray that God so can really do on with so that short money they be
3, 2, 1. Okay, rest for 20 seconds, my people.
So I mean that when I do that, it's just right. No, really, son. Okay, just want to see if you want to lie, you want to lie me. I was getting
10 seconds to rest, people. Get ready. Half raises next to finish the round. 3, 2, 1. Let's go calf raises now.
Yeah, she got low by soul. Big back, she's showing up. Turn around, I want to see. Do it look like how I look on IG?
Let's go, people.
She got a
20 seconds gone right now.
Can't help but take a little peek. Cold working, Polaris, co-starring, we both flexing, both Jackson, both guarding these cats. That rap with piss, both dogging. My latest whip, my latest shit.
Halfway now, people.
I know all my moms miss me. I've been since I hit elementary. She know who run it, the one that keep it running. The runner better.
Let's go, people. 20 seconds left now, people.
Coach can't bench me, the franchise player. I don't know how to miss, and they can't find a layup. A man tower there. I can't take my eyes off your pants.
10 seconds.
Girl, you sounded like a mind player. I'm thinking we should dip like a camera in air. You the big step on the limb.
3, 2, 1. Time, people. Well done. One circuit down, one to go. Okay, people, take 60 seconds rest. Take on some water. Speak to your partner, whatever you need to do, and then join me back for round number 2. Well done.
Yeah, she got low by soul. Big back, she's showing up. Oh, yeah, I wanna see you play you. Standing or like going to rain. Okay.
Get ready, people. 5 seconds. Okay, let's go, people. Join me for round number 2. Okay, now we're gonna hit the building. We're gonna hit the hamstrings right now. Okay, we've got reverse lunges. Okay, so we're gonna be here. Dig your toe in, drop that knee to the floor, nice and slow. Switch legs. Boom, dig it in. Drop that knee to the floor, nice and slow, right there. Okay. From there, we're gonna go to side lunges. So from there, we're gonna go from there to here. Side lunges, nice and slow. Change, nice and slow. Try and get as deep as you can, people. Really feel that stretch and feel that contraction, okay, people? So reverse lunges to side lunges, okay? 60 seconds a piece. Okay, let me turn my tunes up, people. Let's get right into round number 2. Let's go, people. Okay, let's start with our reverse lunges in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Keep going, people. Halfway, people. Let's go. Keep on with those reverse lunges. Get nice and deep. Get that knee to the floor, almost to the floor if you can. 20 seconds, people. 3, 2, 1. Take your 20 second rest, people.
Back with the rings.
10 seconds, people. Side lunges now. Get ready. We're going to go 3, 2, 1. Let's get busy, people. Side lunges now. Nice and deep.
When I'm back home, they treat me like a little girl. We're gonna talk about her child. Took her home, gave her a swirl.
Keep that going, people.
Zero on zero on zero. That's what my baby can say. I got to check on the shoe company, not doing anything I'm about to say. I bought her a plane to get up to stay. I got me in shorty from on the way. Said I'm in town today. She said she coming over and she got to stay. I got that hit to be playing that shit. So when she pull up on me, I know.
Halfway now, people. Keep up with those side lunges. Come on.
I got options. I can pass that.
15 seconds, people. 3, 2, 1. Okay, 20 seconds rest. While you're resting, listen in to moves 3 and 4. So move 3, we've got jump squats, okay? If you're able, we're gonna keep them nice and light. Okay, so feet around hip width apart. We're just gonna do boom. So we're just getting off the floor slightly, okay? Getting off the floor slightly. If you can't go there, then just go regular squats, okay? Regular squats. From there, we're gonna take a step out, and now we've got burnouts. So we're gonna try and stay on the balls of our feet. We've got little bounces here, little bounces here. Okay, so from jump squats to burnouts. Let's get ready. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Jump squats. Come on.
Selling my music up. She told me it's nobody out there, and I'm with the cheesy. I need that shit for the free ski. I got to you selling on free street. It's so much work on my selling. I had to go tell them up to give me to reach me. All of my DM.
Keep on, people.
Play with the toasty. We used to keep on a low ski. She used to lie my buddy, go lie to your face and say I'm just a boasty. You know me. You ain't believe it. She wanted to toast me. I had it sunny as long as
20 seconds gone, people. Keep it going.
She dropped it, took me back in the tunnel, and she wanna get out of that tunnel. Get stuck, so good. She pop up a lung, get 5 stars. Just there on the bullet, keep running in diamonds. They illuminating, no good that I'm again. I just put so many pennies on the brush, and I don't never got studied in the
20 seconds to go, people.
I got options. I can take it. This Jackson, you been this holiday logging. My body got what they like.
10 seconds. Three, 2, 1. Rest for 20 seconds, people. Burnouts to finish the round. Get ready, people. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Burnouts, everybody. Let's wide. Keep on, people. 20 seconds done now. Come on.
I got options. I can pass it.
Halfway now, people. Keep it going.
My body got rid of the Tyson.
20 seconds to go. Come on.
Black leather glove, no seat.
10 seconds.
Buckles on the jacket, it's elite. Back across, body got a piece. Got a dance, but it's really on for
3, 2, 1. And that's time, people. Well done. Take a 30-second break and then join me back. Stretch out. Well done.
Don't you wanna dance with me, dog? I can dance like Michael Jackson. I can give you love, man. It's the feeling in track. So we fun. Lady, don't you wanna dance with me? No, I could dance like Michael Jackson. I could give you satisfaction. And you know we out here every day with it. I'ma show you how to get it and go right foot, that foot slide, that foot, right foot slide. Basically, I'm saying it.
Okay, people, join me. Let's stretch the body right off now. Let's start with the neck. We're gonna go up and down. Okay, let's go. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. All those kinks out. Let's go side to side. Okay, then swing those arms forward. Come on. Arm backwards. Okay, to the hips now. Big circles. Change direction. Front to back. Okay, feet together. Keep it nice, soft knees. Try and touch your toes. Nice and slow. Shake it all off, people. And that's time, people. Well done. Give yourself a pat on the back for that session. Well done. Do we have any comments or questions? Feel free to unmute yourselves if you want to. Is everyone maybe shy today? Okay, people. If not, well done to everyone that took part tonight. Hope you enjoyed both the seminar and today's fitness session. Feel free to join us again next week, 6:30 till 8 p.m., where our first hour is reserved for our seminar. The last 30 minutes are reserved for our fitness class. In the meantime, feel free also to follow us on socials, so Instagram. You can follow us at Keiron, so at CAHN, or and Orlando Grant PT, all one word. Until then, people, have a great week, great weekend, and I'll see you next week. Peace.